we go, hopping in straight away. First thing I'm looking for, where those deer racks. I think that's going to be very important for the Abbasid player. And oh my. Close, but also risky, right? You've seen those deer. They are so tight together, yet so far out in no man's land. I wonder if ReallyUnskilled will try for the greed.
This is more than risky because it's just one part of the equation that we're looking at both deer patches close to one another and being out there in the open. Look at the gold spots, KP. Essentially, every single bit of gold that ReallyUnskilled has a chance to touch is gonna be on the front, out there in the middle of nowhere. So, really, the northern side of his base and most of the key resources that he's gonna have to play with in the intermediate stage of the game will be exposed.
I think there's a high chance ReallyUnskilled gets forced into an archer comp, actually. Just look at the layout of the map. Wood is his only safe resource. He's got one reserve berry patch far out on the east side, so you have to wall up anyway. Compare that to what RecoN gets as starting berries. This is absurd, actually. Look at the spawn, how close his two berry patches are. It's like, I'm done with this one. Walks for 2 seconds, is suddenly harvesting berries again.
Yeah, that's a really lucky spawn out there for RecoN. But one thing that we need to be pretty clear about here for ReallyUnskilled is that at this point, looking at this map, it has to be pretty clear that he has to play extended feudal age. We have seen in this civilization matchup today that Abbasid players may try to rush castle. That's a big no-no with the gold spots being exposed like that. You would just get overrun, cut off from gold, and you can't go for your premium units. So here, the game plan is pretty much set in stone for ReallyUnskilled. He needs to play extended feudal age and possibly force an engagement here from RecoN before he can even think about going into castle.
Yeah, I think it really does come down to food. If he can't secure long-term food, he can't do either strategy, right? Castle, it's not just the gold. You need food when you get there anyway. Like, what are you going to build? Camels, horsemen, lancers. All these things that I'm saying cost over 100 food each. And my key concern here is if he doesn't play map control, he has zero access. And we know that RecoN is likely to try and play for map control. Now, we have seen him play a very condensed style. If you remember the other weekend in the finals up against Sort of, he went for a very compact deli that didn't come out and play map. I don't think he's going to do that same thing, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, notably, he also secured the majority of the sheep out there, both players being just playing one scout. And that is also another concern for ReallyUnskilled. So, not only, as you said, does RecoN have a much better berry spawn than his opponent does, he also has the majority of the sheep. So, the amount of backup food that ReallyUnskilled has to work with is relatively limited.
Yeah, ReallyUnskilled's learned the hard way. Never get between an Englishman and his doner kebab. I mean, it's looking pretty good from that lay. It means that RecoN can always retreat back to base if safety becomes the priority. But I don't think that's going to be his first thought. Instead, he's going to be looking to be the aggressor in this matchup. Wouldn't be surprised if we go for, say, you know, kind of a spear archer ball, similar to what we've been seeing, because it does seem to be the answer to these Abbasid players so far.
Yeah, that's a good point, indeed. It also depends on when you actually open with your first production building, because we have seen the Abbasid player trying to open with an early barracks to try and dictate what kind of composition or what kind of unit the Delhi player opens with. Remains to be seen whether ReallyUnskilled wants to go for that, or just wait and see what RecoN goes for and adapt based on that.
Yo, quickly go check the Dome of Faith being built up. I got a question for you guys. Do you see the alien face on the Dome of Faith scaffolding?
Oh.
Did you see it?
Boss champ?
It's little eyes and then the little face in the center, like some sort of weird alien with eyes on the side. You see it now?
Nope.
You don't see it?
I'm tilting my head in 360 degrees all around, and
dude,
I just can't see it.
It kind of looks like a block person, actually. Head, then hands, and then like legs. He's very discombobulated. I think he's been decapitated, but you don't see it.
You're not using any substances, right, while casting? I'm just curious.
Look, I'm just inclusive of all aliens. That's the difference, right? I've seen enough aliens with weird eyes on the side of their heads. Okay.
So you wait. So you're telling me you have seen a lot of weird aliens with eyes? Is there something you want to tell us, KP?
Yes. Did you know that the Earth is flat?
I mean, yeah, just look at the minimap on the bottom right. It is flat.
Exactly. Look, and here's the thing, like, because people's argument is you keep going, you'll come out the other side. Have you ever tried to keep going to the edge of the map? Do you come out the other side?
Yep.
No, you get stuck. You get stuck. You just keep rubbing up against it like an AI that's gone dumb.
Imagine that you could do that. Just jump off at one edge of the map and then teleport to the other side.
Dude, that should be a mechanic in an RTS, right? Like, what kind of like Pac-Man logic? Oh, that would be fun. You're like, haha, I'm safe. We're on opposite sides of the map. Wait, why is there a ram in the back of my base?
Would make Fire Lancers that much more interesting than they are right now.
Yeah, we'll actually finally see Fire Lancers win a game. Well, let's see if the Abbasids can finally win a game in this matchup. He's going for the TC, and it has to be in this location, on top of the deer. RecoN is aware that this is coming as well because he's scouted the area, and he's even going to try to be annoying by sniping some of the deers out of location.
Yeah, indeed. He is going to expand towards the deer patch that's a little further away. There's also one spearman out there, so not much can be done here by RecoN. He's going to kill a couple of those deer, but really minimal damage done. And I love how ReallyUnskilled is jumping on the deer as well himself to try and kill them before RecoN does. In the end, TC secured, and it looks like RecoN is going to open with the good old-fashioned horseman build. So for the time being, there's going to be minimal damage potential on ReallyUnskilled, who already has spearman out.
Yep. And we're going to have to see if he wants to keep that going, if that's going to become a little bit one-dimensional. I mean, RecoN so far is only going for horsemen, which heavy leverage of horsemen is not what we've been seeing out of Delhi players that have been succeeding. There's a lot more priority on archers and spears, and so far he's neglected both, but archers are now being added in.
Yeah, indeed. Archers coming in for RecoN. No signs of any additional types of units being added by ReallyUnskilled. He just seems to be playing with a couple of spearmen. A relatively greedy approach it is right now, given the fact that his opponent is escalating his army much faster.
The problem is, although RecoN's escalating, like, it just feel that these horsemen initially were waste, right? I think he's stopped now, and he's just going to transition into spears, which is the correct call. But even if he harasses a little bit of villager, you know, he kills maybe one. The investment of 4 horsemen is very heavy for the Delhi, especially if your goal here is to reach saturation. Like, you've just spent 480 resources. How many spears or archers could you have got for that?
Yeah, that's a good point, indeed. Abbasid villagers, you can sacrifice 1 or 2 villagers easily here with the Abbasids, because it's so cheap to rebuild them, and you're always going to have the villager advantage over the Delhi anyways. The key thing here is that if RecoN loses a lot of horsemen trying to raid his opponent, he might not have the critical mass he needs in a decisive fight in the future.
Now, to his credit, he did at least get the horsemen out in time, right? So they're going to get healed up eventually by a scholar, and it looks like he's going for more horses. It's actually going to be the Holy Trinity. Really unskilled. Maybe really a little bit slow here, right? Like, he's only going for spears and horsemen, but I feel like he needs the archers as well ahead of the big clash coming.
Yeah, he picks off the archers from the other side here, and for the time being, he's denying all 3 sacred sites from the Delhi player, pushing that scholar all the way back. So, for such an early stage of the game, the sacred site control by ReallyUnskilled is quite spectacular.
Now he's going for that archer range, so I'll give the Holy Trinity. He's setting up for it. Plenty of food to bolster him long term. Also, the wood's really safe in this game. RecoN can raid there with this horseman comp, but I think it's more important he just wins the direct fight, because the logic is you want your eco, right? You want to be fighting, winning, and taking sacred sites.
He needs at least one of the sacred sites, because right now, keep in mind that the Abbasids, they can turn their resources into army much easier. You're spending less on villagers, you do have the Golden Age bonus, you do have the berry bonus just as much as RecoN does. So you really need that extra influx of resources from the sacred sites, at least one sacred site for RecoN, before he can even think about doing anything else in this game.
Another thing to keep in mind is RecoN, I think he went double blacksmith, right? Or did he just queue them all up? He's going for siege engineering, so I think he is going to try to ram down this extension TC. But the issue right now is
it's queued up behind everything.
Okay, no, it's queued up behind one. Okay, so I'm glad of that, because my issue with the ram idea is he's playing right side of the map, but he'd need to go left, right? So by the time he gets siege engineering, the option is going to be on the table, and he should have moved left towards this TC. So it actually might come into play in this game.
Yeah, I love the way that he's walling up the sacred site. It's going to make it much more difficult for ReallyUnskilled to decap those. He's going to decap the left-hand side, but at least one sacred site will be guaranteed for RecoN, and this is the starting point. From this point on, he can start swinging to the left side, secure the other sacred site, and then off the back of that, once siege engineering finishes, start to threaten that expansion TC.
And the cool thing is, because he forced the entire army of Unskilled to the left side, he can move his army in position on center and probably cap it more or less for free. Because if you look at the numbers right now, RecoN can still take a fight favorably.
For sure he can. He's got a pretty decent amount of archers, and archer numbers just are increasing for ReallyUnskilled. right now, it's going to be the who blinks first contest once again. ReallyUnskilled might be intrigued to go into Castle Age, but he needs to be careful here. All he needs to do is keep massing and then wait for RecoN to strike, because if he does that, he could take a decisive fight and possibly even end up winning the game from there.
Archers are getting baited a little here. Mass spearmen are coming in. Skulls go stand the ground. Horsemen are clashing though, just trying to peel them away so the archers get the opportunity to strike at those spears. And Scholars, as frontliners, is an ambitious move coming out from RecoN. 2 going down is insanely pricey for this composition. Horsemen are going to keep pressing them out of there. He realizes if he gets rid of all these spears, he's free to do what he wants in this game. And it looks like RecoN is actually cleaning up these fights.
Yeah, Archer numbers really coming in clutch over here. So are the Horseman numbers. ReallyUnskilled had a lot of Spearmen on the field, but they got picked apart by the Archers, and there were just too many Horsemen. So even if you kill a couple, there is going to be some left. And now we're looking at 38 army against 21. Maybe a bit of an overextension from ReallyUnskilled. Maybe he should have played a little bit more defensive, closer to his base, where he can reinforce easier.
I think he was trying to just prioritize the Scholars. You saw at the end there as well. Like, he ran around and just got attacked. This is not the way to deal with Scholars. It's why most people go up to about 12 to 15 archers and prioritize Scholars to snipe them down. Because ReallyUnskilled waited so long, he's now at a heavy disadvantage. Another detail I'm curious of, does he even have phalanx? Because I feel like those spears were not doubling down the damage.
I don't think he has it. That could be a big difference maker if he has. Nope.
Ooh, no. That makes it even more painful. That actually throws up a lot of questions over that fight then. That fight makes some sense with Phalanx because you're able to probably kill double the amount of horsemen at least. But now, I am perplexed. Like, that was a bad fight outright to take.
Yeah, he probably just felt like he got caught off guard and he had to fight, otherwise he would just get chased down. But yeah, that was a suboptimal fight at best. What is optimal for him, though, is picking off a couple of incoming reinforcements here. So, managed to pick off a couple of archers, also deals with some spearmen. The problem is that now he's gonna have to hold off a force pushing his base.
Now, here's a thought for you. If you were really unskilled...
I am really unskilled.
There we go. Just I thought I'd leave the air for that. Before that fight, would you have thought maybe 3 TCs I can get away with it? He can't now, right? But before that fight...
Too risky for my taste.
I think the big issue is where would you put it, right? Like, there's no value TC for a third. Speaking of value, these horsemen on the backside are at least getting some good trades, but you're throwing away the entire army to just kill off these scholars. And RecoN doesn't care because he's got 2 sacred sites capped. These guys are paid for.
Yeah, the ingredient missing from this battlefield are the units that were lost in a previous battle. That's what I was referring to. With the Abbasids, you want to force a decisive fight, and you don't want to fight before that. He took a premature fight, and now those numbers, the units that he lost in that fight, are the ingredients missing for him to win this one. Now he's gonna get taken to absolute shreds. 37 army actually for RecoN, just 4 for ReallyUnskilled.
It's pretty much done. RecoN, the siege engineering just kicked in as well, so he can build ramps if he chooses. This base is condensed. You can't leave it. This is your tomb, and it's just gonna take a little bit of time for RecoN to build the stonework around it. But Horsemen, in the meantime, are going to dive in to probe things. The villagers are panic running out to the deer because ReallyUnskilled is about to run out of food. That's pretty much all of his food income right now. He's at least playing Berry Patch behind his base as well, but that's now been scouted out by RecoN. He's going to be shut down more or less everywhere, and that's why he's going to wave the white flag. First game of this best of 5 goes to RecoN. Seems like he's overcome his Delhi demons.
Convincing game number 1 over here for RecoN. Adds another one to the tally of Delhi victories against the Abbasids today. We have witnessed this matchup 4 times already today, and every single time that Delhi won. Before this weekend, we were talking about this matchup as a heavily Abbasid favorite one, but players, they started to figure out how to exploit that weakness of the Abbasids, managed to accelerate their timings with the pushes a little bit with the Delhi, to a point where they can catch the Abbasids before they really are ready to fight. And the thing is that ReallyUnskilled, he was caught off guard in that 11-minute fight. And once he lost those numbers, he never really had the numbers to fight that critical engagement that he really needed to at minute 13.
Is it me, or did it feel like RecoN was slower onto the sacred sites than players earlier today?
He was much slower.
Right? And the crazy part is ReallyUnskilled, I think he put himself in a pressure scenario that it didn't exist, right? It was in his brain more than anything else. I think he's seen so many of these matchups where the Delhi get a very quick sacred site cap, and it snowballs. But just for that being delayed by a minute, minute and a half, actually sets a Delhi player back. I think you're right. Like, he shouldn't have taken this fight. And I think there wasn't as much pressure as he perceived to take this fight anyway. Bringing out the power plays. RecoN going to be opening up with the Roos on Highview here in the second game. So definitely going for the hard, fast guns, trying to speed run this best of 5 to make it through to day number 2. Really unskilled. More composed approach. Abbasid didn't work out in game 1, but Delhi can still be a wild card here on Highview, especially with the right build.
Looks like we're just looking at a pile of dead deer for the time being. Oh, there it is.
Look at those. No, go back to them. I want you guys to feel guilty. Every Roos player that killed a Bambi. All right. You guys... you guys don't get away with it for free, okay? You are littering. You're not even eating it. It's wasting. Oh.
It won't rot, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
Well, I actually love that idea that doesn't rot. What do you think is happening there? Do the scouts run by, kill the deer, and then sprinkle salt over them as they run away?
It's called refrigeration.
There's no refrigerators there. They're genuinely just like pouring a sack of salt on, going, yep, this will hold.
For the time being.
You know what the big IQ explanation is actually, Lidakor? In Age of Empires 2, time passes, right? As in, like, the years. That's why they deteriorate. Whereas in AoE 4, we have this Leshrug timer that ticks up. Doesn't have any relevance to real life.
True that, so it doesn't seem like it actually takes years to train a knight. You can just pop him out, you know. Babyborn, you put him into a saddle, you give him allowance, and you're like, okay, now you're a knight.
Damn, could you imagine that, like, that's a game? I know there's some RTSs out there, like, they have the training mechanic, right? Where, like, you start building a unit, and it starts off as a rookie, and they're weaker, and you can build them up. I've seen 1 or 2 games of that. Could you imagine if they were skin different? If, like, you pushed a knight straight away, it was a baby in oversized armor riding on a little pony? I need this. I need this in my life. Modders, I'm giving you many tasks this weekend. Get to work. Meanwhile, look who's getting to work on the wolves. Really unskilled. He's been practicing his awoo, because he's got a lot of wolves coming back to base.
Yeah, indeed. Some of that will be yoinked away by RecoN, actually. And honestly, RecoN has to be happy with the bounty that he's getting over here. He's probably going to yoink 1 more wolf. Should push him beyond 240, so he should be able to squeeze in wheelbarrow. That's the critical matter here.
You know, it's kind of crazy that really, like, this is just, we're just watching animal abuse. You ever realize that? When we watch Roos games, we are really just kind of, we're praising animal abuse. He killed a lot of wolves and deer this game and got paid well for it. Not going to eat it, but paid well.
I mean, food costs money, so, like, you get the idea. He got paid, and the customers at one point will just use that deer carcass as a self-serving smorgasbord.
It's okay. A few years from now, when we're out of, like, unique civ angles, we're just going to introduce a civ that gets gold for killing villagers. I'm calling it now.
If any, you would think Mongols would get that, but maybe at one point in the development that was a thing, and then they realized that's a terrible idea.
Nah, you just need to find, like, a civ that was known for cannibalism historically, and, like, whenever they kill units, they get a little bit of food. Okay, I'm gonna stop. That one, I will admit, will be broken. There's no way you balance that. They won't be broken.
For the time being, there is no wheelbarrow here for RecoN, which means that if he wants to walk out for that boar, it's going to take quite a lot of time for him, but he has no desire to do so. Instead, plays with the good old-fashioned Roos build on the knights. This will be spotted easily by ReallyUnskilled, though. He sees the stable, he sees the gold miners moving out there, and that, my friends, is a very exposed gold mine. Could be a source of concern for RecoN.
But the thing that makes RecoN feel confident is he has, like, early knights, right? Like, this is 1 or 2 civs that can bring heavily armored units this early in the game. It means ReallyUnskilled's composition should be more predictable. I'd expect spears. Now, the reason I quite like Roos against Delhi on this map, Stealth Forest can be a little bit annoying, but you're more inclined to set up wooden fortresses over these kind of ball plays. Sadly, that's not available for him this game. But he'll definitely want to set up one for the deer. The other detail that matters as a knock on there is that enables the archer mass, that the Roos can more easily build the most civs. And the reason that's important is, how do you snipe scholars in early game? Archers.
Yep. For the time being, it's just a couple of
like,
spearmen.
yep, We just dust our hands like, well, we're done for analysis, guys. Yep, you guys, that's 20
all.
minutes of knowledge for you.
Easy peasy.
Ramon could take you through the rest.
I mean, we've been talking about this a lot. I mean, scholars, they made frequent appearances today, and to be honest, in a way, we are seeing the resurgence of the healing meta, something that has been off meta, at least in Feudal Age, for quite a while. Now we're back to the stage where we're seeing dozens of scholars healing a mass of units, even in Feudal. And that's something that's going to make the Deli relevant once again. Like, in fact, we have seen a lot of success for the Deli today, partly off the back of that healing.
So what I want to see is HRE 2TC, so you can just use 1 TC to mass prelates. That's where we're heading next. I'm calling it. Someone's going to find a way to make that work, actually. And then once they hit Regnits and they just get the herbal medicine, GG.
They also have Holy Inspiration, don't forget that.
True, I'm just going to stop. That's a bad build. Anyone who's about to go like, I'll experiment KP, no, don't do it. Just go castle quickly. Like, if you're HRE, just go castle quickly and then mass prelates. It's too good.
Burgrave and mass prelates, how about that?
That depends how badly you want me to throw my shoe at you. I'm sorry, I'm not a burger fan. I've subscribed to the healing meta, right? It's got to be the prelate ways, but it's true. Like, there's not many civs that get access to mass healing so easily, right? The Deli are there, the HRE are there. Like, who else? You know, the Ottomans when they come out, sure, but
you could justify in Castle Age at least the Rus as well, but that's a different story. So.
Yeah, but how many Rus players remember to toggle auto healing off or on?
We don't talk about it, okay? We just talk about the potential.
Now, I don't want to point fingers, but I've watched multiple games of players in this last chance qualifier right now, or who also have been eliminated earlier, that went into battles with warrior monks trying to inspire, like, buff their entire army, and the guys would just sit there because they were healing a scout. It happens a lot.
Escalation is rather slow here for ReallyUnskilled. His number is not impressing me at all. He's kind of boxed in inside his base. Actually rolls up the northern side to limit the raids, but he's playing a little too passive here to my taste. And this is something that we could exploit.
Sir, kind sir, point me to where the cloves are on your villagers' backs. Because it seems like you haven't invested in some textiles for them.
Yeah, indeed, missing textiles is gonna hurt. Spearmen are out there, but you're kind of playing catch-up with those knights. And this is not the position you want to be in if you're really unskilled. This is not the position that you want to be in if you're playing the Deli even. You want to be the aggressor because you need those sacred sites. One of them will be guaranteed in the corner, but the second one, you're going to have to work for it. Third one is just a distant dream.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why some players like Deli on this map is that you usually get a free sacred site. The crazy part is actually this spawn isn't free. If you think of the spawns we usually see for Highview, there's usually like a natural wood line that protects it. But instead he's having to waste a lot of wood walling this in. And it means that some of the upsides you usually get from this map just aren't actually there for ReallyUnskilled.
Yeah, but even then, if you look at the previous Deli games we've witnessed, Deli, with the healing, with good map control, they can get to 3 sacred sites easily nowadays in Feudal. Every single game that we have watched today with the Deli has had that happen. Yes. And that's not something that you can accomplish here on Highview. You have a lower upside because you have no chance of securing 3 sacred sites. You have 1 guaranteed, but you have the impression that nowadays that's just insufficient.
No, you need more, and that's why I love this play from RecoN, setting up a wooden fortress in this area. Good counter maneuver by ReallyUnskilled. However, that is going to free raids into his base for the Knights, as he prioritizes the whole army into the center. Is at least going to push RecoN back, and important this wooden fortress doesn't go up. Incredibly difficult to torch down considering the 2,000 HP they have.
That's a critical detail there for ReallyUnskilled, stopping that tower, and he's going to have reinforcements closing the distance, so he is going to be able to stop that wooden fortress from going up, or at least that seems to be the case right now.
I think he can only delay it. Like, actually, RecoN could commit a villager and finish this off right now.
I
think there's enough archers and knights that he just wins this fight.
Yeah, he's waiting for more spearmen. He needs something against those horsemen. He's waiting for some more spears to catch up. Now he could commit to this one. There's going to be a tower coming up, though, for RecoN, or ReallyUnskilled, rather, to provide some support fire.
It's the vision. The vision's the important detail. He's down to 1 scout. Like, they're playing blind AoE in the center. We can see everything due to God vision, but look how blind they are. Especially this is bad for RecoN. He's relying on archers. And you just saw what happened there. They ran into the stealth forest and died.
Yeah, it's all about vision on this map. Players are just so cautious, and look at that. Zero vision out there for RecoN. He can't even get the tower up. He's gonna have no idea what's going on there in the middle, and when you have pricey units like those expensive knights, you really don't want to risk running into a stealth forest, getting wrapped around by 50 spearmen.
I mean, here's the bonkers part. He's committing for the build now with the villagers, but why didn't he do this sooner? If he'd done it sooner, he would have got it up, but instead he has to sacrifice 1 or 2 villagers, and it's barely alive. He'll do the garrison, and it looks like it's going to be baited in by the knight, so he can't actually torch down the wooden fortress. It is going to survive, but not the cleanest approach by RecoN. He could have actually brought 1 villager out when that main clash was happening and got this up for free.
Yeah, for sure. At least he's going to get it up, he's going to have it repaired, and there is going to be arrow slits on it. So, crisis averted over here for RecoN, but it definitely could have been more optimal. For now, ReallyUnskilled is going to be sitting on just a single sacred site, and he's going to have no chance to take the second one with the arrow slits out there on that wooden fortress. And this is where it gets concerning for Delhi. 1 sacred site is just not enough.
But military pop cap is looking good for him. That's the key detail I want to focus people on here. And also, ReallyUnskilled, he's starting to bring scholars out to the fights. Those early fights shouldn't have really favored him because he didn't have scholars there initially to heal. Yet RecoN, with the lack of vision, the fact that he was so fixated on the micro of the fight, he forgot to actually finish off the wooden fortress, it put him at disadvantage. And now, even though he got the wooden fortress up, I have my doubts on whether it's going to survive long enough here.
Yeah, archers will try to back this one up over here. Decent HP on that tower, but yeah, with the healing ability of the scholars, tower's gonna go down. Good value out there for ReallyUnskilled.
Define decent HP because it looks so horrific right now. It's just so difficult when you allow this to happen. Yeah, once upon a time. And RecoN, this was his redeeming factor he was looking for. He wanted the raids, but to ReallyUnskilled's credit, not only did he wall that corner for the sacred site, now he's using the berries on the backside. Eco is safe at home.
Yeah, it is. And there's going to be the second sacred site out there. And it is concerning that RecoN's numbers are this low, especially when it comes to premium units. He's got a lot of archers to work with, but basically no front line in front of it to shield them from the horsemen.
Horsemen, they're now diving in on the secondary TC. Archibald is building up fast, though. Now, this is the redeeming factor. What do we say? Delhi, what do they want to not face off against? Ranged units. It means that the scholars can't actually heal in the middle of the fight. ReallyUnskilled needs to double down on horsemen if he wants to take these engagements.
Yeah, he's waiting for reinforcements to pile up here. But RecoN, he's 1 step ahead already. He's adding spearmen, and if this is a fight with archer spearmen against spearmen horsemen, that's a fight that RecoN has to be happy with.
For a moment there, I thought ReallyUnskilled was fantasizing about Castle Age. I'm glad he doubled down on Feudal because I don't think he wins there. I think actually the issue he has now is RecoN is deathballing archers, and you can see ReallyUnskilled is now trying to catch up with that because his current comp just gets countered by mass Archibald, especially with the upgrades already in place for RecoN.
Yeah, decent upgrades out there for ReallyUnskilled as well, but he prioritized siege engineering over the ranged attack upgrade and also the melee defense as well. So he's still lacking some of the upgrades out here for his army. Horseman numbers though looking better and better, and all of them will be full HP as well because the scholars will do the healing work while we have some downtime.
In the meantime, RecoN still kind of floating this 50-50 range melee comp. Actually, well, it's a 33-66 in favor of archers, which means this horseman spam is getting even more value for ReallyUnskilled. Spearman mass is getting a little overkill, though, not gonna lie. I think maybe peeling back off that and then building more archers is more advantageous for the Delhi right now.
Yeah, well, here comes the push out here, and this comes out of the stealth forest, so RecoN didn't really have a vision on that before it actually started happening.
What on earth? He's out of position. He was trying to raid right now. He didn't expect ReallyUnskilled to go in. TC is gonna go down. No way to protect it. What is RecoN doing down here?
No information, that's what he's doing. He lost the tower, he had no idea about this coming in. He tried to probe down, he actually went for a board to the south to try and support his villagers, but by the time he realized what was going on, it was too late. Loses the TC in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Lidakor. Here's a cutesy thought for you. When you build static comp, you can't flank. Not like this. Not if your opponent has the shortest route. It's impossible. Because you'll always be beaten to the punchline. That's what happened here. ReallyUnskilled had flexibility in terms of dynamic force with the horsemen. Yet RecoN sent down a slow-moving army on the wider angle, knowing that ReallyUnskilled had the shortest route to his base, and now he's being ultimately punished for it. Archer's at least going to stand their ground. Infrastructure's going to be torched down. ReallyUnskilled stands here strong. Spears are going to try to dive in. Archers into line formation. Knights have to keep peeling back. There's just so many spears. 34 in the field for ReallyUnskilled. And there's enough horsemen here to make RecoN's life hell.
And there is more coming. That's the big thing. He needs more reinforcements. He's got 17 horsemen on the battlefield. He needs them all here to clean up the archers, but he seems to have enough. RecoN getting his forces pushed against the wall here with no chance to save those archers, really.
No chance to save anything. This game is done. RecoN, he doesn't have the infrastructure to counter out. Double archery range, trying to rebuild the racks, but he's going to be scouted out on the north side here. Second wave of Spearmen going to start diving into the wood line. And even if you had enough archery ranges, you don't have the wood income. And your wood's at risk of being shut down here, especially seeing as ReallyUnskilled is now getting eyeballs on.
Oh, look at that. A terrifying amount of damage could be done over here. Villagers getting caught in the crossfire here for RecoN. He still has some towers standing, but the Ram is also taking down critical infrastructure. And there is just a non-stop flood of units coming in here for ReallyUnskilled. 54 army against just a feeble 19 here for RecoN. As you said, his chances of recovery are minimal.
It's looking absolutely catastrophic. He was also in the middle of a farm transition because he lost the 4 deer with the TC going down. This is pretty chalk at this stage. The Scholars are still keeping everyone alive. ReallyUnskilled up to 13 total, probably half of them on the front line at this point. Not enough Knights, not enough Archers, and you can see RecoN, he's flirting this idea of going up the castle, but he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. ReallyUnskilled is really relentless here.
He is. And with the archers gone, the villagers will have to stand and fight, but that is just desperation out there for RecoN.
Hold. Oh, this ain't working, boys. This is chalk. Maybe we go game number 3.
Oh, such a good game right now for ReallyUnskilled here. He really feels the blood in the water. Still taking down those critical buildings with the battering rams, and he's just slaying villagers in the magnitude of dozens.
I mean, the crazy part is RecoN still has a comparative villager count somehow. Even though he didn't really have that big of a lead. Yeah, but he didn't have that big a lead after the second QC went down, right? But it's just, somehow they held. I say they held, and I'm doing it with like the finger thing, because the army is still 3 times bigger for ReallyUnskilled. And the Ram is still partying in his base. So this is definitely over. I respect RecoN for not giving up, but realistically, like, this is just you bashing your head up against a brick wall, hoping that the brick wall is going to break.
And RecoN is caught in between. He's trying to get to Castle Age, but he's still lacking resources for it. Desperately trying to rush up a market to buy the food he needs, but he's not going to have villagers left to build a landmark with, KP.
He doesn't need them to build a landmark. He needs them to kill everything.
The tower is still standing.
I mean, this Ram is actually one of the highest value Rams I've seen in the road to Wololo. How much did it kill? So it killed TC, archery range, stable, archery range. Oh, sorry, racks. House, something else as well. Heavy damage to TC, like, and it lived. I don't like, dude. You name that Ram now. That Ram is a Delhi mascot.
He didn't kill a tower though, and that tower rained down a lot of fire on the units inside the base of RecoN. So, credit where it's due. ReallyUnskilled is down to 26 army. That single wooden fortress with the arrow slits and villagers garrisoned inside peppered down a lot of units, and this might actually salvage the game for RecoN, because looks like he actually finds a way up to Castle Age. It's still a distant dream for him to recover, but the momentum has started to shrink here for ReallyUnskilled.
Why did you have to curse it? I was about to praise him because that was the point of recovery, that he still had food. I think that was RecoN's only food supply. Like that was what I was expecting to get scouted out sooner.
He has the board down south, completely unnoticed by ReallyUnskilled.
I might have called this prematurely. Like, to his credit, RecoN, I salute you. So many players would have GG'd out, but his read may be right here. I actually think the way he pulled those villages was impressive. I didn't expect him to use them to attack. But do you want to know why? I think this is one of those cool situations where not having something is good. He didn't have wheelbarrows, so he couldn't run away with the villages. I think that's why he attacked with them instead. And it worked.
Oh, but now the tower is going to be exposed, and that tower helped so much for him to survive. Without that, it's going to be more difficult, but he's going to have a bunch of new tools at his disposal, men-at-arms primarily, and as long as that board doesn't get noticed, he's going to have the food to at least get a couple of those out there on the battlefield. This is
the mascot got a brother. Rami 1 has been joined. Rami 2 has entered the game. Okay, nah, this is where you just call it. Nah, he's still got a way of doing this, actually. If he gets a few knights back into ReallyUnskilled's base, ReallyUnskilled is playing pocket ecos now, so he's going to be exposed. At the same time, these men-at-arms can eventually stabilize, but you can see the issue for RecoN is he has to take these awkward fights because he needs any food source he can find.
He needs wood too. He's losing a lot of buildings over here. His initial wood line got denied. His second one was raided by some horsemen. And now he's at the risk of just missing out on the Castle power spike because look what ReallyUnskilled is doing. He's going Castle himself.
Yep. Yeah, I think RecoN, like, it was the bait back and forth. I understand why he thinks he can back in this game, but you can see the gaps in his eco. He had to shift from the boar all the way back to the corner deer. That delayed him heavily, which means his production has suffered. That's why the men-at-arms count, despite all this time, is still only at 5. In the meantime, Rams are obliterating everything in your base. This is becoming an absolute pain in the ass.
And the scholars were missing from the battle the whole time. They're just now arriving. Little do they know that there's nothing left to heal, so a bit of a missed macro over here by ReallyUnskilled. Those scholars could have been a difference maker a couple of minutes sooner.
They got the participation ribbon, though. That's the important detail here. RecoN, I mean, he's holding on. He's clutching at straws here, and he knows it, because the awkward issue is he needs to cover his farm transition. If he can do that, might be a way to survive this, but keep in mind, ReallyUnskilled is now teched up. He will be able to get Lancers in the field. That's where this could really start to fall apart for RecoN.
And a bigger thing is that ReallyUnskilled already made his farm transition happen in Feudal. He's up to 1,500 food per minute, quite a significant portion of that coming from farms, whereas for RecoN, his food income is still somewhat inconsistent. And this is, by the way, a completely unraidable farming eco walled in here in the corner.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I think ReallyUnskilled now has a 10% chance of winning this. He let both the Rams die, so...
Sad.
I'm of course jesting. Yeah, I'm of course jesting. He's still looking pretty cozy in this one. Scholar is going to be stopped from running away. Wait, oh no, the vision. Ooh. Yeah, gets it. All right, now that's important because ReallyUnskilled was going to get 4 relics. At which point, the heavy cavalry battalion is going to be very much in favor of ReallyUnskilled. But how about heavy cavalry of a different type? Wait, why are you running away? No, RecoN, you...
You can't convert warrior monks.
Maybe he just doesn't believe that this warrior monk has the conviction to stay true to his religious beliefs.
As you said, he's actually doing a pretty decent job denying the relics, but look at that. He's actually going the wrong way. The scholar might actually get away with this.
Whoops. No. He's fine. And there's no Wololo. Lamau.
Oh, he spotted him.
Whoops. Wow. Okay, so another
Well, look at the
relic
base.
gets blocked.
Okay, this is worse for RecoN though. His entire army is on the left
Wait.
side, and look at what he's heading into his base.
Okay,
Elephants are on the way.
Arms, but the elephant is the bigger problem. He's in. And is this not a rinse and repeat of the thing that happened to RecoN last time? This is why ReallyUnskilled got in last time. The archers all left to the side. Ay. History does repeat itself here. I mean, this wooden fortress won't last as long as it did last time either.
Yeah, and it's concerning. It's a slow-moving composition from RecoN, but it keeps flanking around or just moving to the flanks to chase units. And this is something that's being exploited by ReallyUnskilled. He's got some Lancers, the Elephant to take that tower down with. Springald is now on that tower, so that's going to help at least get some damage done on those forces, but tower might not live to see another day.
Wait, aren't Springald emplacements better against elephants now? Nah, they're worse. They're definitely worse, right?
True.
No, like, effective HP-wise, Springalds should be still better than they were, if you consider the ranged armor versus raw HP. But they do look pathetic. I'm not going to deny that. They actually look pathetic there because of the low damage.
Yeah, looks like the tower survives for the time being. No healers. Once again here, you have 9 scholars for ReallyUnskilled, but none of them were on the front line to heal those elephants with. One of them is just now joining the party a little late out there. He needs to heal those elephants. That's a key ingredient to an elephant push like this. Especially because he doesn't really have any other units on the field to work with.
Is it me or does this feels like a very sloppy game, right? Like, I think RecoN realizes the mistakes he made, but to his credit, he understood that ReallyUnskilled wasn't making the right moves to end the game. Like, thinking back to that first big push-in that looked like it was going to GG out, I even said this should be GG. ReallyUnskilled never spotted the eco that was keeping RecoN alive. He never even suspected it. And it continues to inflate RecoN, right? And it's giving him the breathing room he needs to get into farms now. I actually think that this is starting to pivot in favor of RecoN.
I have to agree. sure enough, you could say that ReallyUnskilled still has a scary force outside of his base, but now RecoN is walled off to a certain extent. RecoN is starting to add some high-quality units to his army, men-at-arms, crossbows we're talking about. He's got some wooden fortresses as well. He's got 2 TCs. Actually, no, he's only working with 1 TC, but still, point is that he's definitely closer to being able to recover than he was 5 minutes ago, and that's definitely something that should give him at least some level of faith. The concern is that he's gonna have to weather the storm against a keep drop, because look at that. Now we're looking at 5 elephants, 10 scholars. If ReallyUnskilled wants to win this game, his best shot right now is to go all in here.
Let's see who's gonna come out ahead. ReallyUnskilled or ReallyUnkilled? RecoN undying in this game so far. He's starting to go into a cavalry composition. Horse archers maybe not the best solution you think against tower elephants, but don't be deceived, folks. Horse archers have high base damage. These tower elephants really only got buffed against normie archers, actually. It's kind of a sad day for the tower elephants, man. 600 health, 9 ranged armor, and of course there's still the knights to worry about. Now men-at-arms will struggle to gap close, but it's the knights that can make the difference here.
And they do. Picking off villagers on the left side, those are losses that RecoN can't afford. He's already down by 12 villagers, but he's too busy fighting this here on the front line, and now the Scholar is really starting to play for their price. Knight not even getting noticed here, getting a lot more value than what you would anticipate from him.
He's distracted because the push is coming into his main base. The elephants, they distract, they draw a lot of attention, and the butchering continues. The spring almost looks so pathetic now against Lancers. Dive in. He's committing this now. Elephants need to be careful. Remember, they don't have great melee armor, not great health against the melee attacks.
Where are the Scholars once again? He's missing the healing component over here.
It doesn't matter though. The weird part is he's holding. He's got enough troops here. The Wololo attempt by RecoN, he knows this is the only way he can try to go here. He says, elephants look fun. I want some elephants. We'll be able to get him though. It's at least holding ReallyUnskilled hostage. It is pushing him back. And I think the important detail for RecoN there is he didn't lose the farms.
Yeah, for sure. He needs to keep those farms alive. He did lose villagers on the northern side, now down by 15, and that is not looking really good for him. Couple of villagers fell to this knight counterattack over here. Good value for RecoN, but he's going to end up losing the knights in the end, and the concern is that he's going to need every single unit that he can muster to defend this aggression, because here comes the keep drop right in the face of RecoN's base.
He's finding it tough to push back against this many elephants. The number just keeps crawling upwards. Now to 8 for ReallyUnskilled. RecoN. The horse archers, it feels like you kind of need them so you have the mobility, but at the same time, you wish you could just mass knights instead. They're the best opportunity to actually kill off the elephants here. These knights still being a little bit a nuisance in ReallyUnskilled's base, but the chip damage isn't really adding up quick enough as it currently stands. ReallyUnskilled still with a very clear and dominant lead.
Yeah, you have to find a way to stop that direct push into the base of RecoN. If you can't find that, no raid is going to salvage this game for you if you're RecoN.
I still feel like ReallyUnskilled, he's never made an attempt into that eastern corner. I just keep looking there, and you just keep realizing the only reason RecoN's alive right now is that eastern corner.
His army is slow, so we can partially understand why, but yeah, there's a lot of damage potential out there. He just seems to be so tunnel visioned on the initial landmarks. And all 3 landmarks are close to each other, so RecoN has to be careful not to lose those. Plus, a lot of the farming eco is also exposed here, so damage is still being done.
Damage is coming the other way now. RecoN is starting to branch out groups of knights onto the flanks, and we did mention earlier, ReallyUnskilled is playing pocket ecos a lot, even with those farms set up in the corner. So there is a lot of exposure points that RecoN can exploit. Does feel like ReallyUnskilled needs to escalate the speed at which he ends this game, otherwise chip damage could quickly add up.
Yeah, exactly. RecoN is finding opportunities for raids, but ReallyUnskilled, he's getting close for a second keep. He already has a 4th position, has a siege workshop. No trebuchets coming out though, but he's up to 10 elephants. If there is ever a time to go, it's right now. You can dive. You should dive.
Let's see if he goes in for the Dahai.
Oh, he's heading right. He might be heading to the farming eco on the right side.
It's the stables. He just wants all the melee opportunities gone for RecoN. RecoN is still pushing more knights, but the count isn't looking good. Remember, he sent them on a raid, so they're not here to defend. And this many elephants, I mean, I just don't see a way in which you kill them. He's going to try to go into what? Maybe some mangonels? No. ReallyUnskilled is the one going mangonels, so not even that can be a solution. Right now, I just don't see a way for RecoN to kill this many elephants.
And this is the problem, right? You can do as much as you can with the raids if you're RecoN. If you can't stop this army, you will lose the game on a landmark victory condition, and that might actually come sooner rather than later. RecoN is gonna be forced to fight this one, and as you said, I just don't see him being able to fight off 10 war elephants over here. It just feels too much.
It's going to be an uphill battle. He has to go soon. Primary TC is about to crumble, at which point he won't be able to produce more villages. Meanwhile, his horse archers are trying to cut off reinforcements. It's the only option he has right now to try and maybe get a favorable fight. Take out reinforcements and then dive in, but even that's going to be difficult to achieve here. For the time being, at least a decent raid. However, second landmark going down, only one left. RecoN is going to be forced to fight. He's out of time. The buck stops him, because if you wait for those elephants to get on top of the Abbasid Trinity, they'll just kill it.
No villagers nearby to repair.
In fact, he's gone in too late. This is way too late.
Yeah.
Unless you got a warrior bot coming in with a Wololo, this is done.
Yeah, he can't stop this. Oh, elephants can't really reach it though.
No,
Still
there's
too late.
enough of them in there. The torches as well. Like, he's too little too late. RecoN needed to body this beforehand. Unable to do so. Will be landmarked out. 1-1. This best of five is getting some distance.
Oh, RecoN tried to play this on patience to intercept the reinforcements, but by the time he started doing that, too many elephants were massed on the front line as well. Also, not to underestimate the power of the horsemen throwing in the torches. And as you said, he tried to wait until the final landmark was exposed, force a decisive fight, wait as long as possible. But by the time he realized that he needs to fight, it was too late, and his landmark just got sniped. ReallyUnskilled taking Delhi to another victory today. Having a field day with Delhi are the players, really.
Yeah, I think that was the really well played part by ReallyUnskilled there is the left corner. That left corner got utilized really well. He had to expend on walls, so he made sure he got more than just the sacred site. Setting that up for food and then later on farms, I think was pretty clutch. That being said, the detail in my mind I can't help but come back to is that central sacred site. The hesitation or the lack of vision, shall we say, the delay on RecoN actually setting up that wooden fortress, I think set him behind in this game. You know, it's a what if, but maybe it's not enough to turn it around. But there's no denying that RecoN's first army goes down because he's playing blind in that central sacred site and didn't see what ReallyUnskilled was doing behind it. But HRE is making an appearance, baby, and it's making an appearance against an HRE specialist in this best of five.
Indeed, RecoN in command of the HRE with the color blue, ReallyUnskilled with the English with red. Well, let's see how successful players are collecting sheep, because as we've commonly talked about on this map, and also even Frisian Marshes, both maps being the creation of Adney himself, this map has a plentiful amount of sheep. So one of the first things to look at here at the beginning of the game is how the players will come off from the sheep gathering, as we do have both players sending out a villager towards the Dark Age dock.
Interesting. So no early racks from ReallyUnskilled. He doesn't want to gamble on it. This actually benefits RecoN. So the thing I was worried about for RecoN, when I saw him dropping going for this dock straight away, I was like, ah, crap, this is bad. Then ReallyUnskilled, you look at his base, no racks coming out. Like, okay, actually good for the HRE. Why is it good for the HRE? They've got buff gathering rates. They should be able to get a better tech up timing in the feudal, and then because of their better gathering rates, they should be able to push additional galleys compared to the English.
There's a second factor here as well. That's a good point indeed. You can think about pushing a larger amount of galleys here. Ooh.
Sorry, continue. I'm just looking at kebabs.
Yep, it's a decent amount of sheep, but it's like usual for Adney maps, so I would think RecoN has comparable amounts.
Could you imagine if you look at RecoN now, he's got one sheep?
No, like he has to have more.
But wait, no, he dropped them off. Okay. I'm less impressed.
Not bad. Not great, not terrible. Yep, going back to the topic of the waterfront, as you said, one of the things that you can do is just push superior amounts of ships here with the Holy Roman Empire. The other thing that you can think about possibly is trying to rush Castle. Because by going for a dock in Dark Age, both players are extending the duration of Dark Age, but it also means that as you're going up to Feudal with RecoN, with the HRE, you're piling up a bunch of resources, so you could be pretty close to just being able to afford Castle Age straight away. And instead of even worrying about the galley numbers on the water, you just rush Castle, go for the Hawk, and use that to defend your fishing eco with.
I'm looking at this, and I think RecoN tuned into my Call of Duty stream the other day, and I think he was watching a little bit too much, because that's a corner camper right there. He was so worried about the racks drop that he actually walked over to the corner. He does something that other players don't against the men-at-arms threat. He walled himself in as well to ensure that he would be safe with his dock. Pretty cool idea.
Surprising choice, but I like the upside of it. So the idea is that you could scout the opponent's barracks rather easily. But you're operating with one scout, and you do have to keep in mind that every second you spend scouting the opponent's base are seconds not spent on scouting sheep. So here the idea for RecoN is that by pushing his dock to the corner and walling it in, he's going to negate the effects of an early barracks from ReallyUnskilled no matter what. So he can commit to just scouting for the sheep and doesn't even have to worry about scouting whether or not ReallyUnskilled goes for a barracks.
Exactly. In fairness, there's maybe an argument that he could have known that the men-at-arms weren't coming when he scouted back on the mid-map before he even started building the walls. But it's kind of a moot detail because we've seen some crafty players where they'll weave right or left to try and dodge that obvious vision. Now it's just going to become a naval race, right? And the problem for ReallyUnskilled is you're heavily discredited in this naval race. Like, look at the difference in food and gold right now. It's a small one, but it's going to matter. It's going to escalate more. The only upside right now for ReallyUnskilled is that this gold vein is really far away for RecoN, so he isn't actually buffing his gold gatherers.
Yeah, that's a concern for him for the time being, and that's possibly going to eliminate the possibility of going fast castle unless he shifts focus with that prelate, because that's going to be the limiting factor. He's going to have the food to get to castle by the time he reaches feudal age. It's going to be the gold that is the limiting factor.
Yeah. What I'm expecting is an arc and just drop around this wood line. Like, this is one of the tough parts. I think it's actually another reason why most people don't think about HRE as a first civ to pick here, is that the resources tend to be very dispersed, right? You can't get gold next to wood, which is the most typical configuration for an HRE player.
Yeah, for sure. He's getting the best Aachen spot that he could possibly grab over there. He is going to have it. Also buff the villagers under the town center. And it looks like we're seeing a second dock coming up for him. So he's likely going to do at least some level of aggression on the water. Has no desire to rush castle age as things stand.
Second dock to make sure he can escalate. And the cool thing is with that many people on gold and also the amount of wood that's going to be buffed up, he will be able to afford double dock production ahead of ReallyUnskilled. Now, the thing that's in favor of ReallyUnskilled is he's going to be the home player, right? He's going to be defending. Another cool thing is he could drop an outpost, and that would really MVP him up here. Really aggressive dock placement here, though, and timings could backfire for him. I think he should be safe, though.
Yeah, he should be safe. It's also going to give him a nice forward repair point that he can use to fall back to. The concern is that if he ever loses momentum on the water, this dock is going to get surrounded, so any ship that pops out of it will be immediately destroyed.
Now, I was a bit worried ReallyUnskilled was being too ambitious with that dock, but it looks like it is going to be pretty much a freebie. Especially considering RecoN went for a slow build-up because he wanted to be able to afford double galleys. So there's no way you're going to block this villager. He's going to get vision on what's happening back at home, and he should be a little bit suspicious that he only sees one dock and plenty of fishing boats, because it should be obvious that ReallyUnskilled has to go double dock in this game.
Yeah, for sure it is. It's going to take quite a lot of time for ReallyUnskilled's galleys to arrive to that forward dock, which could give an advantage over here for RecoN if he can intercept a newly made galley here on the front as well. But for now, he can only afford one galley of his own, whereas for ReallyUnskilled, he can start popping out two immediately. So start is actually better, especially if you add the fact that we could see some longbows pop out here for ReallyUnskilled to harass the gold miners. Response from RecoN could be men-at-arms.
Yeah, looks like he's going to prep the men-at-arms. Good way of torching down once you start to get advantage on the water side. And the crazy part to think about here is imagine how close to a GG this feels if it's the HRE player going for an aggressive dock drop. Because of the healing rate, right?
Yep.
Like, you get that tech, and all of a sudden your opponent can't even defend. But this way around, it is a much more balanced fight on the Navy side. First longbow is going to arrive before the outpost can go up, but enough villagers here that he will commit to it. Not enough longbows here to stop him. So he will be able to get his gold. Crucial ingredient for him as well if he wants to combat the sea.
Yeah, that's critical. He managed to save his gold. Ooh, he could pick off the Vil. Yoink!
There we go. Easy peas. But he got the bad news, right? He was actually going past the ship when he got attacked by it, so he didn't react straight away. And also, notice that RecoN only just pumped a new galley into the queue. So he's actually delayed compared to ReallyUnskilled.
It's the tower factor. Sure thing the tower goes up so the longbows can no longer harass. But as long as that tower was being built, the villagers weren't gathering gold, and keep in mind, those villagers, they're not being buffed by the prelates either. So, numbers advantage, now on the side of ReallyUnskilled, starting to pick off the fishing ships here. This could easily snowball out of control, KP.
Galley is going to be exposed as well. Can't even run away. That's the problem. You're not even trading anymore, so it just gets worse and worse. He needs to peel all the way back, but he knows by doing so, he's exposing his fishing economy, which is a bigger problem for him because he needs that food to push men-at-arms on land.
Oh, it's worse than that, the body block.
That's one down, and barely any damage done to Galley. ReallyUnskilled now up to 3. This is going to begin to snowball. Problematic right now. RecoN actually can't get enough gold quick enough to keep the galleys consistently producing.
And now fishing ships are being picked off, so the eco of RecoN is getting weakened. Fishing ships not getting sniped down, and you see ReallyUnskilled yet to lose a combat ship, whereas on the other side, RecoN has already lost one, also not responding to those longbows picking off villagers.
Scout also being taken out, so he doesn't know what's necessarily coming next. Galleys starting to be sunk. But fishing fleet all but gone for RecoN. He's going to need a lot of additional docks here to replace what is lost here, especially with his side investment now into men-at-arms. One that's now going to be mirrored by ReallyUnskilled, something he can afford because his fishing eco is completely untouched.
And I love this. It's going to take so much time for RecoN to punish him for no longer investing into water. ReallyUnskilled, he's going to cut the expenses on the water. He's going to fully focus on land now, because he knows he's got an eco advantage. This is where you could possibly shift from water to land and start punishing those gold miners with men-at-arms and longbows. That's exactly what he's doing. Look at that force marching through the map.
Does need to remember to upgrade them, though. So far, it seems he has forgotten that these are baby arms. They're not boy arms yet. I hope he's going to fix that before the fight. Otherwise, RecoN probably still comes out ahead.
Look at that. RecoN has a bunch of galleys back at home, but they're barely doing anything. They're not defending a fishing eco because there's nothing to defend, but they're also not aggressing ReallyUnskilled. So it's a 5 eco lead right now, but what's more alarming is that that eco lead is being turned into an army advantage. We're now looking at 9 longbows and 5 men-at-arms on the field.
Yeah, and usually we say HRE, better economy, but these are fishing boats on deep water fish. They gather fast. Speaking of fishing boats, this one was ambitious, healing on the offensive. Unskilled. Shows his hand being a little bit weak, but his hand on land is looking good. Villagers going to be pushed off the gold. Problematic here. The men-at-arms are going to try to chase him, but villagers in the meantime being sniped down. Good micro from ReallyUnskilled to extend that eco lead.
Yeah, it's slowly creeping up on RecoN, and now with the men-at-arms arriving to the front, he can trade evenly, and there is even a tower now coming up for the network of Castle Zora. Land is definitely being dominated by ReallyUnskilled right now. Water is a question mark. The problem for RecoN is that there is nothing left for him to defend on water.
Hey, RecoN is slipping and falling fast here. Look at the double down from ReallyUnskilled as well. The amount of galleys he just prepped when he sees RecoN goes on the aggressive. And this is the problem now because he's playing into home field for the English. Well, the healing's going to be in play for them. He needs to snipe the eco and he needs to recover on land fast because as it stands, the military force that ReallyUnskilled's coming in with could easily just shut RecoN out of gold indefinitely.
It's worse than that for RecoN. Even if ReallyUnskilled loses his fishing eco, ReallyUnskilled got what he wanted. He has the extra resources that he turned into land army, and if he loses his fishing eco, it's dead even on the water, neither of the players having substantial fishing eco, but on land, ReallyUnskilled is dominating.
And you can see the numbers starting to snowball in favor of ReallyUnskilled. RecoN barely having a standing army as it stands. And the galley count also now escalating past RecoN. Just feels like he can't balance both anymore. His eco is too exposed, is too crippled. Even the product going down, which makes it even worse here.
It's a disaster, KP. This could be a complete collapse here. Look at the resource bank. He's got a bunch of wood in the bank, but unable to afford more galleys because of the gold cost, and he's losing water now. It's snowballing out of control. He still has the eco lead because he snapped down the fishing ships, but the inefficiency of his eco is about to start showing.
Oh, good lord, he's lost gold entirely. His only choice is to go south to regain gold elsewhere, but that's also exposed, and if that ever gets sniffed out, they're just going to die. Does at least E-repairs here to keep his opponent in place, but overall, this is catastrophic. What makes it worse for RecoN is he needs a blacksmith. He's got one, but he didn't get the damage upgrade. He got the resistance because he needed it on land. So he's not winning in the DPS in the fights. Also, I don't think he has the marching drills. So he has no way of gap closing with his melee-only comp.
Yeah, indeed. He's just lacking upgrades. As you said, he invested into the blacksmith, but he simply can't afford those upgrades. And right now his eco is horribly unbalanced because of the lack of gold.
it's just all beginning to fall apart. Really unskilled, really dark horse in this situation. And it just feels like the water side is done. I mean, RecoN, he can't even reinvest there. Now he's sidestepping into Horseman, even more burden on the food source. Maybe he counters the land side, but the concern here is if you're forfeiting Navy entirely, Really Unskilled is going to boom out of control.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Really Unskilled also adding fishing ships himself, trying to torch down the docks even, just to make sure he has water control. And keep in mind that once he has water control, he can play the defender, because he's gonna have a better eco than what RecoN has.
Small fishing fleet you rebuilt isn't going to last long here. Even the Lombos are joining in on the party. And
that's not nice.
Nice fish from Really Unskilled, but it's still eco that he has compared to eco RecoN does not.
True.
In fact, the big question mark now is what does RecoN do? Because I think one big issue you encounter with Holy Island is your starting point is pretty limited on safe resource, right? Like, it feels like you have to come out to the mid-map, which means he has to double down on land, and he needs to be fast about it before Really Unskilled can leverage his fishing fleet.
Yeah, and the problem is that he's just short on food, plain and simple. And everything that he wants to do right now, horsemen, men-at-arms, those will cost him food. In fact, longbows, so bold that they will just dive in here, picking off quite a few villagers here.
Look how deep he went. Like, what's the big curse of the HRE? And this is someone Really Unskilled will know really well. They blitz their way for a resource. This tree line was always going to be too far away to be safe, and now he's being punished for the gluttony.
Yeah, exactly. In the end, longbows will get cleaned up, but once again, villagers going down here, and Really Unskilled is going to be more than happy to learn that he's up by 15 eco against the HRE. And do keep in mind that because that Aachen Chapel is not perfectly placed, simply because of this is how the map looks like, that Aachen Chapel, the 40% extra boost, you're not getting that for a tremendous amount of villagers. So that eco boost that you would be getting from the HRE, that's not really offsetting the villager difference that you now have.
It's tough. It's tough to see a way now for RecoN to get back into this. I mean, you could try to strike out for castle ace, but how do you reach that quickly here? I'm concerned. Wait.
He's trapped. Oh, the agony.
We're going to go hunt. You can guard the dock, okay? Good job, bud.
That's what we call a
dry
dock.
All right, that's it, guys. RecoN's back in this. That galley, wasted. Doesn't do anything. Hello, though. He's in. The horsemen, the riders of row here, are making their way into the base. And Really Unskilled may have went really unbalanced with what he done here.
Yeah.
Where's his land army? It doesn't exist anymore.
He had a really good balance of water and land investments a couple of minutes ago. Maybe he went a little bloodthirsty on the water, just wanted to commit too much to that. Maybe he didn't need that much and he needed more on land. He's just lacking numbers right now.
Go wood. Go wood! The wood is the place you want to strike here. He's moving in. There's so many villages in this area, but he needs to cut them off. The men-at-arms actually slowed him down there because he was moving them in formation.
Yeah, look at that. Now it's men-at-arms trade. Villagers could also help out with their bows. A couple of spearmen I could easily see working for Really Unskilled here just to decimate those horsemen, but for now he seems confident with that fight, but at least RecoN is stabilizing.
I'm kind of surprised RecoN didn't just peel the horsemen off. Like, you're not going to win this fight. So yeah, this is maybe something he could have done sooner. If he went straight after the villagers, idle them or kill them. Because your men-at-arms, like, they're going to clash okay, but ultimately they're going to lose the home battle versus English MAA. But your horsemen are meant to just be your raiders, right? So, raid they will. Looks like they found one of the little extensions because Really Unskilled was starting to leverage land eco instead, as we saw the farms being set up. Means he is kind of showing that he's not willing to fully exploit the sea, which is quite surprising, actually.
To me, it's actually puzzling that he's taking all the shorefish. There is no reason to do so. It is a way worse gathering rate food source for fishing ships than deep fish are. Now, in the middle, there is not much deep fish to work with, so that's fine. But even back at home, where he has close deep fish, he's doing that, and he's missing out on a tremendous amount of food because of that.
It's a little bit perplexing. I mean, Really Unskilled, he says, screw it, fine, if we're just going to land assault, my food is good enough, by the way, because look at that. Oh my. How? Fishing, guys. Fishing. I close my eyes for a second, I look back, he goes from 7 men-at-arms to 21. Meanwhile, RecoN is going from 2 to 3 in terms of age. Now, big if, Really Unskilled is in his own base defending, this works. But if Really Unskilled is on the way to the HRE base, this is going to be a catastrophe. I mean, ambitious, son. Feeling like you could take that
Yeah,
one.
it is.
I think, has he just given... Like, yeah, he's going to be forced to double down on galleys now. He's kind of giving Wharf's side over to RecoN, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I feel like he just wants to commit to land right now. He's got 26 men-at-arms, and those guys, they have enough pierce armor to stay under the town center for a while and at least idle some eco.
Meanwhile, Horseman in, maybe a little bit late from RecoN. If he'd done this sooner, possibly he forces the MAA to go back to base, but instead, it's going to be commitment to the dive.
Good value, though.
ReallyUnskilled perfectly postured. It has to be good value because ReallyUnskilled, with all these men-at-arms moving in position. Wait, where are they right now?
Crossing
They
the
are
map.
slowly making their way across. Very slowly. Tech Up's going to come out. Now I question mark whether he's even in position to fully punish what RecoN has done here.
Yeah, this is slowly falling apart here for ReallyUnskilled. That imbalance between the water and land spendings a couple of minutes ago is starting to snowball because he really tried to punish water when he didn't really need to, and he got slowed down by the fact that he got raided so hard, and now he's the one still in feudal age. He's got 18 men-at-arms, but he barely got any value out of those, and his opponent is now up to castle age. He himself not far away, but now it's not looking as good as it did a couple of minutes ago for ReallyUnskilled.
Yeah, you say he's not far away. His gold was a little bit lacking there. I think he's trying to recalibrate for that. I think he's actually going to slow down and look for the tech up because the problem he now has is these men-at-arms for HRE, they're upgraded. So they're going to trade reasonably well against these boy arms. Another key detail to RecoN's success, that gold vein on the south side was never harassed. It was never scouted. It's been operational this whole time. It's why RecoN still exists in this game.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
not this one. This is baby. It's the one on the south side. That's the big one.
Yeah, the big one is there. Now he's also going to have some relics in Ragni's Cathedral to work with. But then again, he's losing villagers on the left side, and keep in mind, he still doesn't have a fishing eco, and critically, despite the fact that RecoN had some good fights on the water, he never destroyed the fishing eco of ReallyUnskilled. He's still happy fishing back at home, while also picking up villagers here on the wood line, apparently unnoticed.
Yeah, but RecoN's now focusing on land because, of course, your castle age, your HRE, you want those relics as quickly as possible. Looking like he's easily going to bank free here. This will allow him to get into hard men-at-arm spam, and the problem now for ReallyUnskilled is he can't match that. Yeah, the attack speed is cool that you get for the English. The HRE get a hell of a lot of bonus damage via those heavy maces that are now coming into play.
Yeah, that's a big no-no for ReallyUnskilled to fight. Even with the extra armor for English men-at-arms, you don't want to fight against maces. In fact, at this point, I support what ReallyUnskilled is doing. Just raiding with the men-at-arms, buying himself time to get to castle age, picking off a prelate, and just forcing RecoN to chase him while he himself is getting up to castle age, working towards knights or possibly crossbows.
Chase away is going to come in, so ReallyUnskilled will finally back out. He's at least going to upgrade the men-at-arms because it's cheap at this point for the amount you've invested, but gets caught in the tech up. These horsemen have still not been addressed this whole time. They've been chipping away at the lead that ReallyUnskilled has built. He should definitely be further than 20 ahead at this stage.
Yeah, for sure he should. And now, with the Hawk being added to the fleet, RecoN is going to start pushing on the water once again. Do keep in mind that we still have a 21 eco lead for ReallyUnskilled, and now he's operating on 2 TCs. So this is not as bad as it looks like, possibly for him. On the other hand, RecoN has done a masterful job with the recovery, securing 3 relics to offset quite a lot of that villager difference, and now he's the one with the more formidable land army.
Yeah, I gotta give it to RecoN. I mean, we saw it in the last game. This conviction, this refusal to give up, this refusal to surrender. This is the thing I'm loving about this guy right now. It's hard to bet against him when you see how much he's willing to commit. Yeah, we've seen some players go, this is my last chance, I'll see it through to the end. But the difference here is that there's slivers of hope. That last game with the Roos, you wouldn't imagine you could get even close to the recovery he's at. And in this game as well, with the slip-ups in the early game, and the way that ReallyUnskilled controlled the tempo, you would never imagine we'd find ourselves in this situation now.
Yeah, and if this set goes to 5 games, this could easily be the game where we say, okay, the set depended on this one. So whoever wins this one, this is gonna be a gigantic win.
Uh-oh. I mean, this is also another problem for me. ReallyUnskilled has not been on deep water fish. That's why his food isn't as good as it should be. It's been constant shoreline, and I just don't know why.
Yeah, I actually have to ask the question whether he knows that deep fish actually works a lot better than shorefish does.
No, I wonder if he even knows about the spawns. Can we check the vision on ReallyUnskilled? I don't even know if he's scouted the other deep water fishes. That's the only reason they'd be pathing down here, right? Oh my god, no! No! Mate, you should have went to Specsavers because you cannot see a thing right now. I mean, that detail alone, imagine if all these boats were on deep water fish this whole time. Imagine how different this game looks right now.
Oh, the push on the land, though. Look at the swarm, though, from the HRE, really capitalizing on that 40% eco boost now. And the Proud's healing as well. Holy Inspiration healing in play. Quick victory on land for RecoN, just in the moment where he's also winning on the water.
This is starting to look chalked right now. Even more so when you see Sacred Site plus relics being taken on the island as well by RecoN. His gold is escalating, his food is going to recover as he can set up more fishing boats. Really unskilled. I mean, that eco lead that he worked so hard for is kind of decimated if you think about it. With the gathering rates of the HRE, with the relics now in play, the possibility to reboom fishing, this could easily turn into a full recovery for RecoN.
Easily. He's on course to secure 5 relics for himself, plus has the Sacred Site on the neutral island. And I love how he's also stonewalled on the right side. It's going to be very difficult for ReallyUnskilled to do any damage to that very compact and well-defendable eco now. Credit where it's due, ReallyUnskilled is going to make a farm transition, and that's something that RecoN is going to have to make at one point. But you really feel that a game which apparently was controlled by ReallyUnskilled for quite a while now kind of slipped out of his hands, and we are looking even Steven at best.
I mean, you have to keep in mind, Lidakor, he's already made this farm transition, right? He's about 12 to 15 farms deep, which is a lot for the HRE. Like, they compare. Yeah, he's on berries because he doesn't want to like fully commit, and he's slowly making his way up. But I actually think RecoN's position's even better than it apparently appears at first. Horseman wrap on the backside, crossbows are committing here. Lank's neck is the next detail that RecoN needs, but so far he's neglecting it. More MAA and Horseman coming, as well as the Inspired Warriors buff ready to place in.
Yeah, not a single spearman on the playing field for ReallyUnskilled. He's really struggling as the Horseman.
He's lost. It's done. He's out. Game 3 goes to RecoN. Now, it is a best of 5, but RecoN, despite how dicey the last 2 played out, he is the first to make it towards match point. 1 game away from making it to the final day of the road to Wololo.
Critical game 1 week, or game 3 victory here, rather. This puts him into match point, and he avoids being up against match point here. This looked so good for ReallyUnskilled for quite a while. You see that in that intermediate part of the game, he maintained the eco lead. In fact, there were moments where he was up by 15 eco, but he never really was able to finish the game, and it just comes in too late. And now, if we go to game number 5, we'll be looking back at this game and say, okay, this is the game that may have decided the set, because ReallyUnskilled had his momentum, had the chance to possibly win this game, but RecoN was able to recover. This might be the saving grace here for RecoN, this game.
But we've seen French players on this map, aka RecoN, go the extra mile to try and have the TC edge.
Alright, just 5 seconds left to go over here. RecoN versus ReallyUnskilled. RecoN trying to keep the hope alive here. The biggest name yet to qualify for the Heidelberg LAN against the unlikely hero of the last chance qualifiers, ReallyUnskilled. It is match point in the favor of RecoN as we jump onto Basin.
Momentum is a thing, and momentum has been being disrupted on both sides. No one's been able to crawl to a clear dominant lead, but RecoN now in a position where got to be feeling confident over how he was able to turn around that last game. See if that confidence pulls through to Basin, courtesy of Aveline. First thing I'm looking at, the deers. An oh dearie me, really unskilled. What? All right, that's rigged. What is that? Gold and double deer? I mean, you're French. You're going to do TCs, right? But could you ask for more?
I actually have my doubts about that because it's also pretty far away on the front. Compare it to RecoN's deer, it's much more safe. It's high risk, high reward, I like to call that. It has tremendous value, that position does. But also, if you are not the tempo setter, you're going to miss out on both of your hunts and possibly even that good spot with the gold, but that's of secondary importance. As Vodka is showing us, there isn't even a boar nearby. This could be all or nothing for ReallyUnskilled. He either gets a ton of food there midfield, or he's gonna have absolutely no food to work with in this game.
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind here is, like, you sent the tempo aggressor. Realistically, the French players should be that, right? Like, you have Royal Knights, you're playing on a map with Stealth Forest. You should be able to be the douchebag that no one wants to play against. Question mark is whether RecoN wants to go late game or if he's going to go for a feudal timing. It sounds weird against the French, but I gotta say, like, Chigunu's spear kind of slept on a lot. Their strong points are in feudal and imperial, and if this turned into prolonged feudal on both sides, RecoN could maybe win out in fights.
And the escalation potential is massive for the Chinese. With the supervised, they really have the option to just flood you with the units, and for the value that the QUALIFIER add to your army, they're not even super pricey, so you can mass them really easily, and you can still have a very formidable army. And because the French like to stay a lot in Feudal Age, it's unlikely that you are going to get beaten to Castle Age and then just face Mangonels. So, as I said, Chinese definitely have an interesting upside over here, because if Feudal Age gets extended over here, their unit composition is more than capable of causing problems for the French.
Absolutely. I think the thing I'm looking to see is what RecoN wants to do if this does get into a hyper late game. There's a lot of comps that are still kind of being discovered, in my opinion, with the Chinese in the late game. A lot of people just still going for kind of the standardized siege and kind of slow moving, eventually get hand cannoneers and whatnot. Things like Chigenu are highly underrated, and Fire Lancers are still something that people are puzzling themselves on how to utilize correctly, especially with how pricey they can prove.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting whether we ever get to Fire Lancers on this map. I would feel like it's a long shot, but you never know.
Let's see how they go. Another thing to consider is that the Chinese player does want to boom up. It's not uncommon to see them stonewall basically the entire map. And they definitely see if they can do that due to the absurd build speed that they have. But of course, that is going to be far down the line for the time being. ReallyUnskilled going to be going for that School of Cavalry opening. Hasn't started researching into the wheelbarrow yet, but typically most French players, they are of the opinion that it's optimal to get wheelbarrow halfway through the tech up. However, this particular French player does not have a mill.
Yeah, he probably wants to make sure that he can afford a first night out there, because as we discussed, the French kind of need to be the tempo setter here with how exposed those deer are. So you really want to make sure that you can start queuing up that first night the moment you hit Feudal. You don't want to be short on gold because you went for wheelbarrow.
I wonder if the further off gold vein had something to do in his choice or not getting the mill straight away. It is still surprising. I think, like, from what I've heard of most French players, they have the agreement that unless it's absolutely imperative that you get the best possible night timing, it is better to get wheelbarrow in the tech up.
Yeah, he's not gonna get wheelbarrow. He has even shifted away from the gold mine, so he's only going to queue up one night, and from that point on, just go full eco-focus. Look at that.
Yeah,
sending all the villagers to wood.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to go on the stone next as well. You can see, yeah, nice little optimization there. So he garrisoned to pull them out on the other side of the TC. And oh, wait, hold on. Where are we? Hold up, honey. It looks like we're going on a cross-country venture right now. Make sure the kids are plugged in. I don't want them falling out of the car.
I like this. Look at...
Really?
Yeah, I actually do. If you think about that, this feels like a game which is going to feature quite a lot of eco-booming. Chinese don't really have a standing army right now. You have a knight. So you could possibly smuggle up an aggressive tower at the opponent's base and throw off their timings. And if you look at the stone mine spot to the south, that could easily be towered. What?
Nope. You're wrong. Shut up.
I am
We're wrong. No one cares. It's the proxy archery range. What?
Now that I did not expect.
And you know what? RecoN won't expect it either, because his name's a contradiction. He has zero reconnaissance because his scouts are busy chasing the French ones away.
I'm starting to... Okay, KP.
Oh, no.
Here's the big brain. You know that RecoN is gonna go spears. He has to, because he has to respect the French knights. So you go full archers over here. What's the chance right now for RecoN to go any horsemen in the next couple of minutes? Not much. If you go very aggro with a bunch of archers, it's gonna be difficult to hold off, and they will trade fairly well against the Chukonu even, especially the initial few Chukonu.
As we said though, Chiganu long-term will easily win out, and they are going to add a lot more into the fight with the knights afterwards than, say, archers would. So that's something to keep in mind, right? Because I think it'll end up being archers will do 2 damage to a knight, and Chiganu will do 3.
I think he doesn't have a desire to go long-term though. Like, this could easily be a 12 minutes game here. Essentially an all-in style opening here by ReallyUnskilled, who actually ends up going for a couple of towers. Could deny both of these forests. It is Song Dynasty first for RecoN. He's gonna have the option to go Chukonu, and that exactly is the plan with the range being dropped. No second TC on the horizon for him yet.
Now, on the wood side, actually, RecoN got something very beneficial here. He does have a reserve wood line on the north side. Not ideal, it's not the biggest, but something kind of unusual. It doesn't happen often that you get this type of generation. So that might keep him afloat, and he will need wood for this type of composition.
We can't afford a Chukonu though right now. He doesn't have gold. He's gonna have to live off the taxes, which works for the time being, but it's not sustainable, really.
Not this stage as well, because you need to build more of your taxman, right? And they cost gold initially to get the Imperial officials out, so going to be slightly problematic for him. You can see these archers are being a nuisance, but the Barbican should protect... Hello? Yeah, get your gun out. I think
Really good
maybe
chip damage.
ReallyUnskilled jumped the gun here.
He went a little too aggro. I guess he just wants to be annoying, because off the back of this, he still wants to go for a second TC. He just wants to make the game chaotic inside the opponent's base, so that he can really leverage that extra TC he's building, and credit to him, he's making this game very chaotic for RecoN.
Yep. Second wave of archers now coming in to address the villagers. Is going to push them back. Not enough to kill them off just yet. It's going to block out the village from going up, though, so decent detail there. It means that RecoN right now is hoosed. Not able to get more people out just yet, but is able to get on the goal. This is the key detail. He's been waiting for the opportunity to get into Chige Nu. And as you said, ReallyUnskilled's real goal here is to go really TC boom. But the Chinese have got decent production rates at this point due to Song Dynasty. So they're not as far behind as another Civ would be just stuck on a TC like this.
True. Right now he's down by 4 villagers. Escalation is soon coming in, though. There is this forward TC from ReallyUnskilled on the hunt, as one would expect. And he seems to be working towards a 3rd TC even, so a bit of a poking and prodding, making sure that RecoN is just sitting inside his base, and that is probably a desirable spot to be in for ReallyUnskilled, because we talked about this one, with those deer spots, the French have to be the tempo setter, and so far, he seems to be the one setting the tempo of the game.
It's one thing that you have to be careful of, can be very dangerous this type of TC choice by ReallyUnskilled, is if you do force your opponent to build too much military, and he walls himself in, condenses in his base, he will come out. And when he comes out, ram rush endgame. That's the type of thing we've seen Chinese players do time and time again. We're talking like 25, 30 Chige Nu, 20 Spearmen. They will go. You'll feel like you're in a game against a Delhi player.
Yeah, for sure. At this point, for ReallyUnskilled, he needs to start leveraging that second TC, but he needs to keep making army. He can't go greedy here, because he needs to expect a push from RecoN, and don't forget, escalation is very rapid for the Chinese. You see 5 Spearmen, 5 Chuko Nu at minute 9. You see 25 of them at minute 12. So it really takes just a blink of an eye for them to escalate their army and just swarm you all together.
And the crazy part is they can do it while being condensed because of supervise, right? You just increase the production rate on the archery range and it gets insane. Before you realize it, like, you've been outmassed. And ReallyUnskilled isn't massing military as it stands. He's going full greed. You can see that right now. It's 4 archers, 1 knight. A lot of people were working on gold. I think he recalibrated that. I hope he's not thinking of Castle Age Rush, because I think rushing Castle Age doesn't actually benefit you in this matchup. I think it rarely actually benefits the French.
Yeah, what for would you rush Castle Age? That's the big question here.
Exactly, right? Like Arbitraire, I guess, but like,
Nah.
eh.
Like, even Men-at-Arms feels underwhelming, because the Chuko Nu, if there is a single ranged unit in Feudal Age that can stand ground against the Men-at-Arms, it's probably a Chuko Nu.
Speaking of the Chige Nu, starting to move out and get involved a little. Spearmen are diving past the outpost. They need to address that. The archers are going to be counted out by the Chige Nu. Looks like he might lack the spears to torch down the outpost quick enough here. So we'll need to double down. This is going to slow down his timings, but ReallyUnskilled in the meantime is going to be forced to reinvest. And instead of going for knights, it's going to be horsemen. Okay, scrap that. He's going castle. He's actually rushing castle.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know about this, KP. Feels so risky. The problem is that he's about to spend a bunch of resources going into Castle Age, but he's going to have no standing army. And whatever he's getting out of Castle Age is either going to have minimal value because he simply can't field a lot of those, like, for example, Knights with the Veterancy upgrade, or Men-at-Arms. Or the other problem is going to be that even if he fields a couple of them, RecoN can just buffer up and play defensive because his unit composition is suitable to hold off those units. Numbers will be a big concern for ReallyUnskilled. I'm somewhat puzzled on what he's doing, but I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt for the time being. But I'm still concerned for him. I feel like he's playing a very risky game over here and could easily end up being a disaster.
I think he's paranoid about the idea of trying to dive the base for knights, because A, it's condensed, and B, it's the worst civ to dive against, because the hand cannons, right? Your knights take heavy damage. But that thought process is like negative thinking. I think 1 or 2 knights makes a lot of sense here to cover this tech up. Instead, what you're seeing RecoN builds enough to defend. Now he's going to go back for his TC. You're going to have the boom up to Castle Age, but I think RecoN now gets to kind of have his game. The question mark to me is, what can he do with Castle? It looks like ReallyUnskilled's intent is to mass Men-at-Arms, which actually would be, once again, an unexpected ton of events in this matchup.
Yeah, that's definitely going to surprise RecoN over here. And the thing is that RecoN wasn't really investing into army that much, so ReallyUnskilled possibly even dodges a bullet over here, because if RecoN just went full army instead of piling up resources for his own castle or his own second TC, ReallyUnskilled would already be overrun. But because RecoN is also not committing a lot of resources to army, he's gonna get away with this, and he's going up with the guild hall, so he's gonna have a decent boost of eco at least coming out of his castle age.
He's already prepping a few knights as well, so they'll get upgraded quick. The juicy strong boys. Meanwhile, RecoN just going to level enough spearmen to defend his base. He's starting to push out a little bit. He knows about that TC. He did scout it early. The problem is this is not a big enough army to do anything about it right now. However, with his TC now being up, this puts him at 3 town centers effective. He will outscale ReallyUnskilled when it comes to villages.
Yeah, indeed. That's the big thing. The question is, when is ReallyUnskilled going to switch from an eco-focused approach to an army-focused approach? He's slowly piling up stone. Makes me wonder if he's thinking about a castle just to get the discounts on his production, and then try to work with lower eco numbers.
Did he maybe just overgather stone? Because he's been seeing a 227 for a while.
Yeah, but like, for quite a while it was like 68. So he went back to stone, and then just pulled away his villagers from there once again, so a little puzzling indeed.
It's like perplexing, and bad news for ReallyUnskilled fans. The men-at-arms transition gets spotted. That scout does go down, but RecoN gets vital info out of it. Speaking of reconnaissance of a different kind, I'm not sure that's exactly what this outpost is intended to do. Probably more on the Springall side of things. Pain in the arse, actually. RecoN does see it, though. At least he should. And he is going to build a gate now. Wait,
Tower goes up here. It's going to be annoying.
But he's going to be able to counter out before it gets his upgrades in place. I don't know what the other village... Like, There's been a failure to communicate here. And here come the spears. So he will torch down. That's important. No. That opening is going to remain open. Gets it just in time. Looks like there's no stand ground out from ReallyUnskilled, so missed opportunity. Only one knight gets in. Big deal as well, because the men-at-arms push would have zerged through that hole.
Yeah, that could have been scary. Tower also gets taken down over here. Villagers getting picked off by the QUALIFIER. Men-at-arms number is looking better and better for ReallyUnskilled, though. If he wants to play it like this, he should probably consider going back to stone and trying to play with an aggressive forward castle, because I'm not sure how long this is going to be sustainable. If RecoN gets to castle, he's going to deal with this easily using crossbows. So, time is of the essence here for ReallyUnskilled, you feel?
Another tough part, if we check the MAA, if my maths is not wrong, RecoN's getting double the amount of damage on his QUALIFIER against the men-at-arms that he should be, because he got the damage upgrade. Yeah, it's 4 ranged armor versus, I believe, 6 damage on the QUALIFIER.
Yeah, you don't have the ranged defense yet for ReallyUnskilled.
No. He's got blacksmiths. He's just settled for the free tech ups, right? The melee. But it means the QUALIFIER are actually trading damn well here. This is a bad fight for ReallyUnskilled to take. Mistakes are being made.
And this is why it was a questionable choice to go straight to castle. Because the QUALIFIER, they are among the very few feudal age units that can hold decently well against castle age forces. On the other hand, though, it looks like they're just standing and fighting with no frontline in front of them anymore, and they might still be insufficient. You gotta pull them back behind the walls.
You're starting to step them back a little bit as new spears are coming out. Looks like ReallyUnskilled still has a decent amount of MAA. More are coming in, and RecoN is forced to double down on the ranged units and stay behind cover. The Knights are actually a good choice. The Knights are doing more damage. They also feel less tanky, actually, in this situation. It's just a more cost-efficient trade. And also, these walls are not being torched quick enough. Like, ReallyUnskilled is throwing away a lot of economy. We also have to keep in mind, he's playing finite resources. He needs to make a farm transition to the wall! RecoN, no! Mistakes have been made.
Imagine he pushes in with the entire army he had. He threw away so many men-at-arms trying to siege down those walls. He could have dove in, and now it's desperation for RecoN, scrambling to get the towers up, and the problem here for him is that he's still in feudal age with 20+ idols. The men-at-arms will be picked off eventually, but the inefficiency of RecoN's eco is going to start haunting him.
Yeah, but now look at the trickle. There's not enough MAA here. Actually, this works out well for RecoN because it exposed the weakness in his defenses ahead of an exploitation point. The idle time is annoying, but now the outpost spam ensures that you can't dive with MAA anymore. In fact, if ReallyUnskilled doubles down on men-at-arms, I think this starts to pull against him.
Yeah, I just don't like the men-at-arms play over here. credit to him, he's going to use the map control he has gained to secure relics, so he's slowly escalating over here, but he seems to be just very far away from being able to punish this. Forward Siege Workshop could change things though, because that's exactly what he's working towards. And Mangonels, that could be the deciding factor over here, because RecoN is still not up to Castle Age to get Springboards on the field with.
Oh, and RecoN, once again, failing in the reconnaissance department, doesn't know about that Forward Siege Workshop. Problematic here. Now, he does have a stable, so he can potentially get Horsemen, and he can supervise, but he's going to need to get them ahead of time. Otherwise, his Mangonels could crush his dreams here.
It's getting worse.
Last setup as well.
Because if he wants to go for Horsemen, he's going to delay his Castle Age, but it kind of looks to me that he wanted to go Castle straight away. He's lacking the gold for this, so he's gonna get caught in between, losing precious seconds because he's lacking the gold to go up.
Meanwhile, the walls are going to go up, so he's at least fully insulating himself. Also, another key detail, Lidakor, this village leader is getting insane, and there's a reason behind that. RecoN snuck something. He's a magician. Did you see what his sleight of hand was?
Nope. What did he go for?
TC.
Oh yeah, there it is.
TC.
Is that what we call magic though?
Boy.
Like, I would call it concerning. Like, I agree, 30 TC is nice, but you still have to find a way to stop those Mangonels with, and there is the first one coming out.
Well, it's going to inflate his eco though. His eco is getting absurd. Remember how effective this is for the
True.
Chinese.
Yeah, actually true. I'm just not realizing he's up by 20.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. And also remember, he set up the farms on the backside with granaries, so he's not behind from an eco standpoint at all. He can easily afford to build more units while teching up. Mangonel shots, RecoN. Not too much damage done actually from the initial shot. There is going to be a burn through and a flood through of MAA. Tech up is underway. Of course, that's one advantage for the Chinese. They can do those tech ups fast. Wolves trying to go up quick enough, but not going to be good enough. However, Mangonel now has to enter the maze into Keshi's castle. It's going to be a little bit problematic to find his way through. And the dives might be ineffective against this many hand cannon slits.
Yeah, it feels too much. I'm also missing the knights from the playing field. If you had a couple of knights, you could just dive into that farming eco and start massacring villagers. Mantons would just be too slow to do that, but you do get through the walls, and there's a forward keep coming up, an aggressive keep that is. Once again, pushing RecoN's back against the wall, and keep in mind, one thing RecoN doesn't have a plenty of is wood accessible.
Nah, he's got the reserves on the north side. Actually, credit to him, he didn't go to that earlier. The fact that he held out that long means he can survive this, especially with the Chuga new upgrade coming and Springwalls now being built. Springwalls are going to be the reaction coming out from ReallyUnskilled, but we have to remember the Chinese, they have the edge of theirs being tankier via the clock tower.
Yeah, indeed. Castle is going to go up, but clock tower should allow him... Actually, how many villagers are building that keep?
Is that like... Wait, is that 2?
Yeah.
What?
No way.
3. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I underrated the build force by 50%. One of them died. It was actually double that, so 4 total. The Chuga new looking to make a move. Needs to stagger them.
Oh, they're gonna dive.
Being made. He needs to commit. He's going to dive. He's going to get rid of the villagers. In fact, he's going to stick on top of the Mangonels. He needs to address the keep, though. Instead, he tunnel visions the Mangonels. Does get rid of them, but the keep should go up here. It's going to be time for more villagers. No! He can't get it! RecoN blocks out the keep. ReallyUnskilled has no villagers nearby. It's a down
more
castle. More coming.
Oh, he has to get it up. He could lose the set right here if that keep doesn't go up.
There's no way. There's no way. They're going to get it. It's going to go up. Trebuchet has been built by RecoN, though. So it's not over yet. He has the siege to try and get out of this. Many Chuga Inu's lives were sacrificed, and in the end, it was for next to nothing.
Oh, Villager Lee still massively in the favor of RecoN, though, and he's reaching that point where he can really leverage that to start gaining an army advantage. 32 army against 28 right on the battlefield, but as you said, Trebuchet is already setting up here for RecoN. He only has one of those for the time being, shelling that one keep, but what is ReallyUnskilled gonna do to try and deal with that?
ReallyUnskilled, I mean, it feels like this keep... to call it all in may seem excessive, but you have to remember you're up against the Chinese eco. Even if you thought they were just 2 TCs, they're going to be ahead. These Trebuchets are going to address your keep. They're going to force you to invest stone to try and keep it alive. Stone that you don't have anymore. And then the tough part for the French is, what could you have done with this keep instead? Imagine if this was in the mid-map near his proxy base. Imagine if he had archery ranges around it. Imagine if he had stables around it. The discounts he could be getting, the army he could be building. Instead, RecoN is getting an opportunity to stay alive here.
Yeah, this keep came in too late. When he had good men-at-arms numbers, if this keep comes in, it's a different story. But by the time this was finished, his opponent is now up to Castle Age, and this is just gonna be an impossible hill to push for the time being. Trying to dive in with the Springles, though.
I think his way in. Trying to deal with the trebuchet, but realizes the Springwalls are going to counter him out. He has to back off here. And notice that Mangonels are not on the table anymore for ReallyUnskilled. He's going for the Greased Axles though, trying to have the edge there. Trebuchets are still costing ReallyUnskilled dearly, and these Miss Micros also cost him dearly. The trade out is going to favor RecoN there. Burn on the north side to get rid of the outpost. Clash in the meantime, the pass guard able to quickly gap close. And now crossbows mixed in, and I don't know if ReallyUnskilled noticed this, because one big problem, if you're just glancing at it, Chuginu and crossbow kind of look alike.
Yeah, and that's the problem. His composition is getting worse and worse, and that is going to show in the battlefield right now. Diving in, but he's gonna have to throw away his entire army to take that trebuchet down.
He's not even gonna get it. It's a clock tower trebuchet. Like, you don't even get it. And this TC being gone is a whoop-de-doo. RecoN's already at 134 eco. And ReallyUnskilled doesn't realize that this is not a good TC snipe, because there's another one to the north.
He has no idea about the expansion to the north. He's so tunnel vision into pushing this, and he's also stopping to make villagers. He's been sitting at like 78 villagers for the last 5 minutes or so.
Is RecoN... He loves this. I love it. RecoN, the biggest trader in the road to Wololo, and he's at it again as the Chinese.
How ballsy it is against the French. You would expect the French to just keep raiding you non-stop with the cavalry, but in this scenario, ReallyUnskilled is so locked in on that starting base that he's got absolutely no idea about this happening. In fact, if we take a quick look at the perspective of ReallyUnskilled, that's going to tell us how little does he know about that expansion to the north. That expansion that is salvaging the game possibly here for RecoN, and that's keeping him in this one.
And this is to RecoN's credit. Like I've said it before in the Road to Wall, this guy does trade more than anyone else. Yet he's one of the best players at hiding the fact he's doing trade. And why is he going to be able to get away with trade here? How is he going to be able to set it up? He's harvesting 2 of the big gold veins. Why is this important? French need gold. Pretty much any comp you run past Castle Age needs gold. And he's not going to have it.
Yeah, he's not going to have food either. 630 food per minute at the 24-minute mark. That is underwhelming at best. He's struggling with sustainability now, and really, we're looking at 200 population against 120 for a reason. The escalation of the eco just wasn't there for ReallyUnskilled. He felt like he can finish this game with a keep drop, but by the time he really got to that keep drop, it was too late. RecoN got to 120 villagers, he was fully boomed, and he was able to just buffer this up until he really capitalizes on the eco advantage. Now could even flirt with the idea of Imperial Age.
And ReallyUnskilled's not going to GG because he doesn't know how bad it is. Look at the pop cap. We can see everything. We've got gold vision. He never scouted this north side. He still has not scouted this north side. Think also how much he's wasted in terms of stone and villager idle time to keep this keep alive. And yet, it done nothing to RecoN. It never at any stage stopped him from doing what he needed to in this game. Now, like a dog off the chain, he is going to be let loose.
Yeah, it's... If we take a look at ReallyUnskilled's POV, that's going to tell us why he's still in this game. He doesn't know how bad the situation is. But at this point, RecoN is going to go Imperial, and look at that. He has absolutely no idea about the TC expansion to the north. He has absolutely no idea about the fact that RecoN is pop-capped and is about to go to Imperial. In fact,
he only knows about the walls.
Yeah. He wants to go with the gatehouse right there in the middle of the playing field.
And what, next to that TC we were worried about earlier. It's finally time for it to get its comeuppance. In fact, it might die before that. ReallyUnskilled doesn't want to wait around. The Chinese tide is unstoppable. RecoN will make it into the decider match. Tomorrow, he will fight in a best-of-7. His final opportunity to make it to Wololo.
So close, yet so far, is the moral of the story here for ReallyUnskilled. Every single game that we have had in this best-of-5, he has had a good shot, he has had his window, yet he was unable to close out the game, partly because he slipped up in critical moments, partly because RecoN has just shown a masterful skill of recovery and resilience. That previous game on Holy Island, there was a lot of momentum for ReallyUnskilled. RecoN was able to salvage the game, took the win. Very similar in here as well. And in the end, ReallyUnskilled, he can't be disappointed with this. He actually got realistically close to possibly even upsetting RecoN, and this guy, we could be talking about ReallyUnskilled as a rising force in the competitive scene of AOE4. He's not there just yet, but in a way, he massively exceeded expectations in this set. He has shown some really good skill when it comes to execution and when it comes to going up with unorthodox game plan that do work. I feel like for Really Unskilled, he can't be disappointed with today because he has definitely put up a really good show here for us in the round of 8.
RecoN, this is a guy who's been working hard for this, but always has been humbled. Every time he's aware of the mistakes he's made along the way, he's honest about what he's done wrong. This is not a guy who cockily assumes he's going to do the best. This is a guy who hasn't been able to go full time. As you mentioned, he's been on the part time. He's not been able to commit those hours, but I know how much this means to him just being this close again. He was pipped at the post, possibly had the worst matchup of the 4 players he could have matched up against in the monthlies. This time, he is a clear front runner. Not just him, Magic as well has already made it through to qualifying match. Those will be played out tomorrow, but there are still 2 series up in the air. They need an underdog story, potentially. Garnath or Donati for RecoN, and Zerton or Keo for Magic.